Welcome to Twinings Tea Tasters. My name is Mark. Now this month on Tea Tasters, I've got something really special that I'd like to share with you. This month we're looking at a green tea and it's called Jade Pillars, and that's a direct translation from its Chinese name. Now this tea is absolutely fascinating to look at, and it's going to be a really engaging tea for you to have a look at and taste and make this autumn. Now it comes from the Yunnan province of South China, and Yunnan, of course, famous for some of the most beautiful and tasty teas that China produces. So Jade Pillars, let's have a look at these beautiful pillars in a bit more detail. Now these are quite a small pillar, they're a couple of centimetres long, but they can get up to about 1.5 inches, so a good 6 or 7 centimetres. These are quite small ones, and they're just an absolutely fascinating tea. I think it's complete testament to some of the skill and expertise in the tea making world that can make the tea look so very attractive. The way that these are being made, as I was saying, is a young, just established bush will be used, and these very young leaves, spring leaves, rolled together to make these beautiful pillars or twists, and if necessary sometimes they can be trimmed off at the end. Now, as we know, a green tea, as I was saying, has lost its ability to oxidize and become a black tea through the application of indirect or direct heat. And not only is the skill of these teas in the twists that have been produced, but also the contact time with heat. So in the Yunnan province, as I was saying where these come from, these pillars, once they've been rolled, once the leaves have been rolled, they'll be dropped into a hot wok or a hot pan. And the person applying the direct heat to deactivate these enzymes has to be aware of how many pillars he's put in the pan, the temperature of the pan, the contact time of the tea with the pan. So you can see it takes many years of skill to get this just right. Let's make up some of our jade pillars. Now, we always use our tasting crockery, and for this tea I'm going to use about a good heaped teaspoon and a half per person. So I'm going to put that in there. Now, green teas. Some people like to use boiling water. Personally, I prefer to allow the water to boil and then to cool for 3 or 4 minutes. And that's going to give me the perfect temperature for a white tea or a very light green tea. So I've just let this water cool. Bit of steam still coming off it. It's going to stop scalding the leaves. So I'm going to give that 3.5 minutes to diffuse. I'm also going to make it up in our pot. So for 4 people, I'm going to put about 7-8 spoons in this chamber. Now if you don't like a full-bodied, full-flavoured tea, then maybe you'd want to put a little bit less in. I'm just going to fill that up. Put that lid on and give that again 3.5 minutes. Start my little timer there. And here, as you've seen in previous episode, I'm going to use my Gaiwan. This is a slightly larger one than we've used on some of the others. And I'm going to put a good 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe just shy of a quarter full for me on this occasion. And then I'm going to pour my water into a little water jug there. And I like to just heat everything up a little bit. Now, as I was saying earlier on, because I like to use my water slightly cooler, I preheated the pots and cups just so that they weren't really cold, because as you pour a near boiling or very hot liquid into these cups, if they're cold, they can lose a good 15 or 16 degrees of water temperature. So preheat your pots and cups where you get the opportunity. You won't go far wrong. And of course, the beauty of using green tea in this fashion, using the Gaiwan, is that you can use it multiple times, and of course you can start to appreciate some of the very delicate flavours. So on this first occasion using the Gaiwan, maybe just 20-30 seconds is all that we might need to use. And of course, we might decide to kind of wash the tea first. I'm just going to give that a rinse. I'm actually going to give the tea a bit of a clean first and then just pour some more hot water into it. And fill that up. It's a great way of drinking tea and preparing tea. And really relaxing if you get a chance to make tea in this fashion. Of course, this type of tea you might want to take in an afternoon or maybe early evening if that's your time for yourself. But this is about treating yourself, I think, when you're making tea in this fashion. And as I said, using the gaiwan, you can try tea and its subtleties in many different, excuse me, and have a little, oh, that is absolutely gorgeous. You're in for a right surprise. Well, I've just had 3.5 minutes come up on my little timer here, so using my tea tasting crockery, we'll just pour that in there. And of course, in the pot, you can see a beautiful, delicate amber colour, the light refracting off it's pretty staggering. I don't know if you can see that on the film, but I'm just going to pour that here into my cup and saucer. I always think with delicately pastel coloured teas, it's really nice to use them in a clear teacup. It's personal preference. Now I'm just going to let that last bit of liquid drain off from there, and we'll just have a look at the tea. Oh, and don't they look gorgeous when they've infused those pillars? Beautiful, soft, somewhat slightly buttery aroma, but it's all going to be about the flavour and the taste, I think, on this one. So here we go. Let's. That is absolutely gorgeous. There's a certain complexity which is very hard to describe on this tea, but what it does have is it has great sweetness, has a slightly floral character, and I can just taste a little bit of toastiness where this has been in contact with that large pan that we were talking about slightly early on when we started. But this is going to be a real treat. It's going to be a real heart warmer, I think, through the November autumn period. So until next time, happy tea times. This has been Jade Pillars on Twinings Tea Tasters. Cheers.